get better. The rich is wise in his own conceit, but the poor with overstanding searcheth him out. Poor man mourn, the rich riches increase. I said, be he not grieved, riches are not forever. Envy not the oppressor, choose none of his ways. Be not wise in thine own eyes, only child you must praise. Strike not with the one without a cause. If they have done thee no harm, let bygone be bygone. Said I had a close one yesterday. Jah put an angel over me. Said I had a close one yesterday. Jah put an angel, and I say, be strong. Oh, all a firm meditation. One day.
Good evening to you and welcome to this program of Walter Rodney Groundings. I'm your host, Dean Abrams, and as usual, my guest is Brother Tacuma Ogunseye, and together we'll be looking at current issues in the political landscape of Guyana. Welcome, Brother Ogun, to Walter Rodney Groundings.
It's always good to be here.
Yes. So there are things happening in the air. The blackouts are a concern. What's happening with GPL? I mean, you may not know, but are you concerned as other Guyanese about the current spate of blackouts across the country?
Of course, I mean, people are, approaching me and approaching the WP and asking, us to explain why is these frequent blackouts, Recently, the vice president, had a program in which he seek to blame the APMU plus AFC government, as being responsible for the present situation, which is very ridiculous because, the PPP have been in government for 3 years.
20 plus
plus previously, but at least
the blackouts were there when they were.
And the APMU government have reduced it significantly in their time. But I'm saying that you're in government for 3 years. When you were out of government, you were considered a government in waiting. Therefore, all of the shortcomings of the current government you would have been aware of. Therefore, you had ample time to fashion, policies, both short, medium, and long term, to deal with the electric power crisis. You can't wait till when the system collapses around you, then you want to blame the former government and to exclude yourself, of any responsibility. But this is the kind of game they play, and for most times they get away with it because of the division in the country. Their supporters, will quickly buy into their narrative, and they get away with it. But recently, or not too long ago, I remember reading that they bought, I think, 17 generators from some country around the hemisphere. And I reliably informed that even if you put when you hook up 11 of those generators, they generate no significant energy. And I think that that whole scheme seems to be some corrupt transaction because millions of dollars were spent, and it seems that the company, achieved nothing for it of significance. And I think that, we should on this program, call for an investigation. You can't be spending taxpayers' money to the tune of those kind of millions. And then when nothing is of significance is delivered, there is no investigation. So I think there should minimally be an investigation. And based upon the findings of the investigation, the appropriate action be taken, Because you can't be spending taxpayers' money that way,
Yeah, but the thing is, they're making excuses about the generators that they bought, saying that, some parts were in Panama somewhere and some parts were shipped and all of this kind of nonsense. But my understanding is that they were advised, just as they were advised with the Skeldon situation, not to buy the generators because the people who had the knowledge knew that those generators were not going to deliver, to the grid what was required in the current scenario. But of course, like you said, the whole scheme of buying things from avenues that will allow you to enter into corrupt transactions, that is the
Order the day.
order of the day. And so you're not going to buy from places where accountability will be able to manifest itself. You're going to obscure entities to build an estate, people who never built an estate. You're going to use a shift motilal to build a road who never had any experience in road building. You're going to, and these are Jagdio's things.
Yeah.
Right? These are Jagdio's babies. You're going to start a fiber optic cable to run from Brazil, and it never got past Letem and so on. And all these billions of dollars that they engage in, nobody is held accountable. Like you were saying now, in this scenario, where people are faced every day with blackouts, right? It affects the economy considerably because production is affected, But there will be no investigation. And then there is this blame game,
Yeah.
right? He's not going to go to GPL to blame Anandalal's relative who is in charge of GPL. You understand? But he's going to find somebody else
To make a scapegoat.
to make a scapegoat.
I mean,
And we who were experiencing, life under the APNU know for a fact that this never.
yeah, they've cut the reduced
Right.
blackout significantly. I see the blackout things. I mean, while the business sector could, recoup losses by increasing prices, tinkling with the tax system, exploit the workers more to recover losses. The ordinary working people and ordinary Guyanese people who suffer a lot of losses in their refrigerators and the fridges, of their perishables, they have no way of recouping anything.
Well, that's the point.
So it really affects ordinary people in a serious way. So they just think this blame game with Jagdeo is playing is nonsense. 3 years in government, you have enough time to put into place, enough energy, and you got the money. Not say you got the money, you got the money to put enough energy in the system that's reliable to avoid this present crisis that we're experiencing.
Well, it's a tragedy. The way money is being spent, and all this money that they're spending in all these projects, and they're still not looking at the economic life of the people. Now, Irfan is telling people that they must wait until 2027, but nothing else is waiting. There is scrambling in every avenue. All right. I mean, look at the Ministry of Housing. For the first time, I saw on one of the application forms, you had low income, you had moderate income lots, you had middle income, you had residential, commercial, and so on. Now I see something like lower than low income, something to that effect. Now a low income lot is 40 by 80. You don't have much space for planting anything, for doing anything. The moderate is maybe 50 by 80. And I'm seeing some lots in some of the schemes that they're building that I have to walk with my tape to measure because they don't even look like 40 by 80 and 50 by 80. They're so small, crowding people into cramped spaces.
You're building ghettos.
Yeah, and it's amazing, but this is what is happening. The ordinary man is put into that, kind of situation, but others, friends and so on, are given large schemes to do whatever they want with it. So how they deal with people, the ordinary people, is always putting them in a situation of pressure, making life difficult for them, right? Yeah, the salaries are not increasing, nothing tangible is happening with people's life and living. But billions of dollars are being spent for roads, and which roads are needed indeed. This oil and gas scheme, now GPL, so in every area you have money to spend, but you don't have money to give people, right? And in all these transactions, there is there are lots of questions. I'm seeing that, did you buy the newspapers today?
Yeah, but I ain't walk with it. I had a copy of the Starbucks News, at least I had a copy of the
I'm seeing that charges are a headline saying that for the oil and gas project, that one company has factored into its cost, things that they're not actually paying for. And so they're taking that cost from what the Guyanese people should have. Because once the company affix that cost to its own operations, then it becomes something that they take out of the profit
that we got to pay for.
that we got to pay for. And there are several instances in the newspaper about these shady kinds of operations that people should be concerned about, that basically tells us, that they tell us that these are operations that are fleecing the Guyanese people. But they can't happen unless there is some kind of relationship and understanding and allowing of its passing by the administration.
Yeah, it's deliberate. I mean, the administration, as you quite correctly said, they seek out the corrupt to do business, because at the end of the day, they want the payback for themselves and for the party, purse, etc. And of course, they're building a new, oppressive business class in the country, very deliberately. So to build that class, they have to expropriate funds from the people to the state, So these are serious developments, because it is not just simply the enrichment of an individual or a few individuals, but it's gone beyond that. And the consequences it has for race relationship and racial economic balance inside the country is significant, because what you do, you're empowering a section of the country at the advantage of other sections of the country. And once it is already, that pattern of taking root in Guyana. And then when you use the oil money to continue and to worsen the situation, then you're actually saying to the side that you're oppressing and you're depriving, that you're going to become third class citizens in this country. And I'm very concerned about it, because the African community and the American community are the main victims of this policy. And they have to do something. And I mean, I don't want to take the liberty to speak for the Americans, because I represent the Americans are not part of the leadership, and I really don't have a lot of contact with them. In the earlier days, WPA used to have significant contacts with them, and you feel more confident to speak with them, because you had that kind of contact. But at the end of the day, the critical thing is the African community. And the African community is not delivering the responses to these acts of oppression and exploitation that the PPP is dishing out, And that is part of the problem. You see, what a government do in a large way depends upon what the population or those who they're doing things to are prepared to accept. you know. And we have reached a point in the African community, in my judgment, where we have long gone past, the red line, that we should be saying no, no, no. And I'm convinced that on the question of governance in the country, in the context of oil, and in the context of we got a constitutional reform process that should begin soon, the African political leadership and the cultural leadership and the religious leadership should really, throw down the goblet and to say, we're not going to deal with another winner take all elections, and we're not going to deal with a continuation of winner take all system. Because the results, the likely results of it. And I'm saying that even if by chance the African political party or the opposition collectively win an election, okay, they have to share power because given the structure of the economy with the Indians, the Portuguese, and everybody. Right? So at the end of the day, from an African Guyanese point of view, we have nothing to gain by trying to win elections by ourselves and for ourselves. We need the economic and political space to develop ourselves at a rate that could, over time, you could catch up with the Indians and the Portuguese, and we got the Chinese in the equation. So we need a paradigm shift. We don't need a political system where we got to be the policing the country, and where we got to be policing people capital. We need a political system which frees us up from those things, where we engage in making capital. Because we can't, at the end of the day, economics determine politics. And you could get political power and have no economic power, eventually you lose political power. So for me, it is foolish for us to be investing in elections under winner-take-all system, where we should be investing in a constitutional struggle to reshape the governance system. So at the end of the day, when we don't vote in a partisan way, when we don't vote in a racial way, the Constitution say we got to sit down and share this executive power and run the country together. That is where we political energies as African people ought to be shifted towards. Not the continuation of this 60-year foolishness that we have with winner-take-all elections. And if I win the election by one seat, I dominate, I got all the power to do what I like. So we need a paradigm shift. And I keep saying, and I will continue to say, that is the way we have to go. Whatever is the price to get there, as an African community, I will argue it is in our best interest to pay that price and get there. And ultimately, I'm convinced it will be in the best interest of the entire nation.
Well, there has been lots of calls for power sharing, and the WPA itself stood behind that call, and we have firmly, even during the last election, we reiterated the need for
decades we have pressed the point.
Right. But like you said, the will to have that happen is basically because some people believe that, they have a majority and they must keep it. And that majority gives them the right to go to the elections in the manner that we are going today. And that once they get power, then they use that power indiscriminately to the detriment of, and because it's a racial kind of divide, that they use it in a way that suggests that we have power, we have everything, and to hell with you who are not like us. And it, like you said, it's going to breed instability, even though there seems to be a lot of docility right now in the African community. It is not going to last forever.
Yeah, I agree with you, but the damage is being done. And you can't allow these things to roll into natural course, because by the time it reaches the point where action will be taken, the damage and the price you will have to pay to achieving, what you could have achieved much earlier with a lesser price, because this is what politics is about. Politics is not to allow, we know change will inevitably come. Might come 50 years from now, it will come. You could almost certain changes will come. But politics is about engineering change in a reasonable time and to help to dictate the outcome of that change. And while the description that you give is very much the PPP's position, it doesn't explain the African party and the African leadership, continuation, of wanting to engage in winner-take-all politics. And the only thing you could say is that they want the system to continue because basically, philosophically, and ideologically, they believe in that kind of politics. And I'm saying that it has become counterproductive to the interests of African people. And by extension, it has become counterproductive to the country. I mean, the Americans have played a major role in shaping the modern politics and by extension what happened in Guyana economically and socially. Burnham only succeeded in doing what he did, to keep the PPP out because it was done in the context of the Cold War, and he was acting basically, in support of the American dictates. So they played a big role of fashioning the politics of the country and so. And we know that every juncture of our political life, the Americans have played a role. And we know what happened in 2020 with the Trump administration, the PPP. But when the Biden administration took power, they said that the Guyana elections were disputed elections. And they said that the government has been installed. Now this is American administration that has access to the information. And then later they went on to make the observation that, look, Guyana, with the oil reserves or oil resources, is in a position to really take off as a country. And they warn us that our big problem is our governance system. And unless we change the winner-take-all governance system, well, they use these words, but what they're actually saying is you are going to fight and kill one another over this money. And they made the point that the oil is out there. It's not land-based oil, so they can get it anyhow. But you will not benefit from it because of your internal division based upon this system that you all got in this ethnic reality where we winner take all. So if you win by one seat, you take all the power. That's a recipe they're saying to you for your own destruction. And this is one of the times when I will argue that the Americans have been fair to us and been just to us. Before they used to screw you up in the past. But they tell you up front, look, this is your reality. You all better fix it, and fix it quick. And I'm saying it is the PNC and the African political leadership that has to make the first step. The PPP with power would not make the first step to, take power or to reduce their own power. You can't expect that. But it is the opposition, the African people, leadership, they got to say, look, we want a change in the governance system to one of executive power sharing, more inclusiveness in the context of this oil and this oil money. And is prepared to put it on the agenda and fight for it with all our tools that we have at our disposal. And we will get it because you have, in a way, with American support, you have a big block of international support who will argue that with the wealth that Guyana is faced with, you can resolve the economic problem once you got a just political system. You have now, in this country, 3 wells working. We discovered 41 wells to date. 3 wells working, and I keep repeating, the amount of money that the current political leadership has have never any leadership from slavery to now ever had in this country. And if you have all this money, both at home and abroad, and you got 3 wells working, what will happen when you got 10 wells working? Imagine it. So I'm saying the economic deprivation that the country is experiencing right now, we could take significant steps to end poverty if we want to do it. But they're not taking steps to end poverty because politically they don't have to do it, because the political arrangements of winner take all allow them to feel confident that at the end of the day when the elections come, they can get the 1 vote more than you, or the 1 seat more than you. So they're not under any pressure from the political engagement, to deal with poverty and to be just to the ethnic communities, and they could continue their domination policy. And that is where we have to throw our energies and to bring the country to a standstill if necessary. Every country have moments where you have to do that.
When I was speaking, I wasn't suggesting by any means that, like you said, that we should not engage. What I was making the point is that if we don't, that eventually people are going to take action in their own right. You're looking for political guidance in relation to this action. But when the crush is on, then spontaneity takes over,
yeah.
right? And that can be even more dangerous.
Right. That's my worry.
Right.
In an ethnic situation, this situation with oil and oil money, the forces who will provide the weapons for we to slaughter one another, to take advantage of it. That is why I don't want the conflict to reach the spontaneity. I want the mature political leaderships and the social, forces in the society.
Where are they? Let me ask you. Where is this mature?
Well, I should really restate it because you don't really got mature political leadership. What I mean, the current political leadership.
Okay.
To whom the people constantly vote for.
All right.
They has the responsibility to begin to fashion an outcome that allow us to achieve what we want to achieve with the least pain. But if they don't, well then chips and gotta come down. But I mean, I am long enough to know and watch the world very carefully and study these problems in oil states and so. People out there watching at your condition. When you conflict start, what was when the Venezuelans are arming one side? Quickly, all kinds of things will happen. To throw you into total chaos and confusion to their advantage. That is why, at my age, I am pressing for this matter to be dealt with by the parties who the people have been voting for. You can't get the people vote and then you're leading them into destruction, or you fail to lead them.
Yeah, but let's look at a country that is not ethnically divided. Haiti, for instance. Haiti has resources that are wanted by the foreign powers, like Guyana's resources. And they're getting guns.
Yeah.
Because in the chaos, the resources are
ripped up.
still being
Ripped off.
right, taken out. So this question of getting guns is not
It's the easiest story, man.
It's not a big thing.
It's not a big thing.
Right. It's not a big
You got
thing.
a big border problem. We're going to prevent the Venezuelans from taking advantage of it. And the government got ways of doing that. They got to do it officially. They got all kinds of ways of doing that. So that's what I'm saying. We are at a dangerous point. And that is why, it brings me to I noticed in the papers, Nakamoto wrote a book. I haven't got a chance to read it, but apparently he was chronicling his efforts over the years to build, unity and so. And I mean, I'm hopeful that I could put my hands on it, but I got the sense from the reviews that he is batting for some form of inclusiveness, some form of power sharing, and he make the point that we got a system. One time you want to win 50% out, next time, even the next side win 50% out, and we can't continue along the line. And I think to the extent that he's given recognition to that stark reality, the book may be a very useful tool going forward. But I got to get a chance to read it. So I want to congratulate him for his efforts. I mean, even though I haven't read the book, but I think that anybody at this point in time that is throwing the weight for some significant and fundamental change, and we stop playing the games that we've been playing for the last 6-something years or whatever is the time, is worth giving recognition to.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to congratulate him also for writing whatever. I mean, in his deliberations, it's addressed in the book launch. Those points that you raised there were basically what came out. And so I guess it came out of the context in which he would have written. But our political system, as you were saying, needs to be changed. Inclusiveness is something that we all, it's what we should strive for. And more and more, the world is recognizing the nature of the current government. We saw that in the UN's dealing with the administration at a recent forum, where they had to answer questions, a lot of which they had no answers for. They have said that they wrote responses to the questions that Gail could not defend at the forum. But the world over, change has been taking place. I noticed, I think it's Senegal or one of those places, that the current government is now reviewing the contract that was signed with the previous government in relation to oil and gas in that country. And there has been a clamoring for some review of our contract with ExxonMobil. And there is no mind from the current admin. In fact, they have rolled back a lot of the progressive steps that were being taken by the APNU administration, including ring fencing and all of that, including dealing with, conditions for
Oil spills
and all of these things. And they do these things, and they also peddle lies about what we've been getting from the oil resources. Jack Dew himself had to admit that the billboards that are put up by Exxon suggests that all of what is happening in Guyana is coming from monies that they're garnering from oil, that Exxon is contributing to the overall development of Guyana. And he himself, after being pressured, had to admit that they're not getting the 50% as the 52% royalty. That when you deal with all of the, factor in all of the things, that a lot of the information on those boards, that it's incorrect.
Yeah.
But he has said that they should take them down. Now, if you know it's incorrect, why are you saying that Exxon should take them? What kind of logic is that for a vice president? What sense in that?
You see, look, we got to be careful with this Exxon engagement in the government. See, Jack Dew them is trying to trick the opposition into a fight with Exxon, okay, to take away the pressure from themselves. And they know that Exxon is a very powerful political entity in the U.S. politics. You know, they got a lot of string influence, and they're playing up to Exxon as a way of strengthening the political hold on the country. They're consolidating the influential forces in the United States, which is close to Exxon and which Exxon control, to guarantee that American policy as it relates to Guyana continue to be what it is. Now, the opposition has to be tactical. I think we have to fight for, revisit the contracts. But all contracts are subject to revisiting over time. So to me, that is not an issue. Our opposition got to make a judgment of what is achievable at a historical moment and what is in your best interest. I don't believe the opposition got much to gain in going with the head-on fight with Exxon. I think that the public, the civic society forces like Transparent International, Kiteshore, and all the things, they should take on the fight, and they're doing a fairly good fight over it. Okay? But I think the opposition should be more concentrated on the monies that we're actually getting at present out of the arrangements. And the use of the money, because that is what is important to us at this moment. And that is something tangible. We get in the money. The fight over the contract may change 5 years from now, 3 years from now. But the money that is coming from oil, we already have it. And we're getting it every 3 months, every 6 months, whatever the arrangement. And that is where I think the emphasis should be. So the country as a whole should fight for revisit the contracts, but most of that fight should be done by Transparent Internationally and the NGOs and that kind of thing to put pressure, because that is a successful model around the world to rein in these multinationals. But the opposition has to be careful that it doesn't fall into the trap that the PPP is setting. They want the opposition to be conceived as being anti-Exxon. Right? And we got to try to avoid that as much as we could. Now, you see, oil contracts and the way in which Kiteshore using them in the main, and Starbuck to a lesser extent, the way they have been projecting the contracts in a technical way, a lot of it has been misinformation, which helps the PPP and helps JAGDEO. Guyana can't say we're not getting 50% of the oil revenue. We're getting it, but a large part of that is being used to pay off for the capital investment. This part of the arrangement. But when you don't pay off for the capital, then you will end up having all the 50% in your hand. But you're getting it right now because you're getting it and it's being used to pay off the thing. There's the arrangement. So you can't say you're getting it. So there's a lot of these kinds of misinformation and confusion.
So how you're getting it and you ain't getting it?
You're getting it because
you're getting it because the arrengement is saying that
you have to pay off. You can't.
I understand what you're saying.
You can't buy a house and you want to pay people for the house. So when you get more money,
but,
the thing
I follow what you're saying, but the questionable costs. We had this scenario with.
There's other things like ring fencing and all other issues. I'm not saying that Exxon is robbing you, but I'm just saying that we have to be strategic and we thinking, because we look stupid in international people. You're not going to sell and get into. You sign an agreement. Nobody's not going to invest no money to bring up oil, and you don't pay them back.
We had this situation where with the
200
and thing, right? And then we continue. Even in the papers today, they are saying that costs for, as I mentioned before, costs that really were not incurred by Exxon are.
No, we should be clear, man.
Right?
Exxon is screwing us up. So there's no question about it. Exxon is these multinational corporations, they're not decent entities. They're basically like criminal entities. So there's no question that Guyana is being robbed by Exxon.
Okay.
I think that should be clear for every Guyanese. Okay, but what in the fight against Exxon, we have to be careful that we don't fight Exxon the way that help the PPP to remain in power.
No.
Consolidate its power.
What I'm saying.
No, I'm not saying you're saying, and I'm not saying in the engagement, because you see, if you listen to Kaichur News and so, they want us to make Exxon the big problem. This is not Exxon, it's the government.
It's the government. It's the government.
You see?
All right. But many times I must give credit that apart from the government, a lot of what Glenn Lal says is directed to Jagdew personally, in response to statements that he makes at his press conferences. And so when he made the point that Exxon should take down those billboards which are not reflective of the true picture of what is happening in Guyana, I was just questioning how it is that he, as vice president, right, is making a point that Exxon should take them down, but he's not ordering Exxon to take them down.
Well, Jacques, you could explain that. but he may say that, look, it's private property. Those billboards are the property of Exxon. And why should I take them down at force action? I tell them to take it down. I try to convince them to take it down. The government should not get itself caught up in, destroying private property, national private property like that. So you got to make a case for government to take the action. That's what he may say. But I don't know. But I mean, but to me, those are the petty things, in the engagement. Whether Exxon billboard reflects the true reality, okay.
And I want to agree with you that it's petty, because what it does, all right, it's public relations.
Yeah.
And you have to understand the power of influence that these things can have. They won't put it there because, just for a gimmick. What they're trying to do is to fashion the minds of the people in a certain way, all right? And if you are going to buy people over by presenting false information, then we can't say it's a petty matter, right? Because what you're doing is undermining the consciousness of the people. And once that becomes embedded in them, then their ability to become revolutionary and to fight for what they should, it becomes possibly undermined.
Yeah, but what I meant is this. I don't think Guyanese reading the billboard in any significant way. I mean, but I'm saying that Jagdew picked the fight because, in my judgment, he's getting so much blows how he deals with the sector and Exxon. So he wants to show he fighting Exxon. And he look at the most trivial issue. Because, there's more important things for him to fight Exxon on if you really want to fight with Exxon. And the billboards, and I'm sure, I didn't read the billboard, I never read it. That doesn't show you too. And I'm sure, if Exxon got 10 points, I'm sure at least half of them points going to be correct. So way of really fighting is a few points. And I think Jagdew is trying to use it as a way of taking pressure off himself. In this sense, I think it's trivial. You got more important things to fight: the ring fencing, the oil spill. Them the things you got to fight Exxon over. Because the oil spill could dent me money in a big way.
Security deposit.
You understand? Yeah. But he's under pressure because whether they like it or not, Kaichur News is getting a lot of traction and is influencing a lot of Guyanese views on the thing. So he's coming under a lot of pressure, But the thing with Kaichur News and Glenn Lala is that Glenn Lala doesn't understand the technical nature of the oil business and the contracts. And in that way, he allows Jagdew to take advantage of him when it comes to these technical things. Professor Thomas have been doing excellent work, and if people read Professor Thomas' article carefully, there's no need for the level of confusion, but the ordinary people don't read technical things in a certain way. But, when you don't understand the technical things and you come in front of Jack Day because he's economist by profession,
Yeah, but
he takes advantage of you.
demonstrates a lot of ignorance in terms of economics also.
Yeah, but you can't undermine. He knows the technical arrangement of those contracts.
Okay.
You know, because he got to deal with it every
No,
day.
but he admitted that
You know.
only the other day that some of the things that he himself has not gone through, he hasn't read and he doesn't, unless he's lying.
He's like, Jack, Jack trying to say, well, as human, I know a lot, but I know everything, I take it easy for me. Give it a little space, take it a little easy
Well,
for me.
you-
No, tell this how they behave.
Uh-huh.
This how they don't think, me and about politics is just a reflection of human behavior,
Okay.
When they are under a lot of pressure, you say, look, we got to concede something. All right, here. I see human. I read everything. There's so much of volumes, So take it easy for me. That's what really tell you, Take it easy for me.
Anyway, we are still under tremendous pressure from the daily struggle for survival, and then we compounded with blackouts and so on. And now we have Venezuela on our backs, passing, in their parliament, a law that suggests that Essequibo belongs to Venezuela. We spoke about
The last time.
the last time.
But
But since that development, the Commonwealth, I think, is the last group that came out.
yeah. And
With
that's
a
a significant group because it's a group of at least 56 countries. And it's significant. And it was good that at least they come out in support of Guyana, very clear, And
Has CARICOM,
CARICOM, as far as I know, there haven't been an official CARICOM statement. I know the Trinidad foreign minister have spoke out in support of Guyana, and he heads a department, a CARICOM, I think, on foreign affairs. I think it's foreign affairs or something. But he spoke out in his capacity as, minister of foreign affairs in Trinidad. But I don't think there have been an official CARICOM statement, which is
They
bad.
should have been the first.
They should be forced to come out. So we got all of these contradictions. But it is good that the Commonwealth, come out with such a firm and clear support for the country, But I've been looking. Ram Koran, who do cotton tree, he was one of them who was supporting the agreement with Maduro, and I think, and today is in the thing he crying,
What is he saying?
But he basically is saying, the man show you real colors,
So, what were they saying before?
they see no color, they see the angel, now they see a devil. But it just shows the lack of objectivity, and there's a problem with race politics. Is that it's not that they don't know. He's a lawyer. He's an experienced political person. He knew the weakness of the agreement, but he doesn't want to take a position as hostile to the PPP. So now that I think blew up in their face, you're crying crocodile tears. And that's the problem you have here. It's not a lot of what's going on in this country. It's not that the Guyanese or the people who's doing it doesn't know better, but it is deliberate behavior, and it is based upon the fact that the country is so divided, and that they know that given the divisions, they don't have nothing to lose. They got no face to lose. You and I as political people will, call them out here and there, but for them it doesn't matter. You got the people who's important to them don't listen to me and you. This is what they're gonna tell us. They don't listen to me and you. And even if they listen to them, they ain't gonna do nothing. And that is what perpetuates the backwardness.
So, the Irfan is saying that he's depending upon the allies for support in terms of any aggressive action by Venezuela. How would you view that response to the current situation?
You see, my problem with this government on the border thing is that you can't depend. Okay, I start from the premise, which I think every Guyana government from the time the border crisis started, every government and the opposition had the unity that the defense of the country in real terms is a diplomatic defense. That in military terms, we no match for the Venezuelans. Okay, so our diplomacy and our approach to the defending the territory is based upon that. I think it is a correct assessment of the situation, and is ultimately that is where our best chances lies. But having said that, every nation has to do its part to defend its own interests. And if you're a small country like ours and a divided country like ours, the first imperative when you face a major threat is national unity. And if they were serious, they would immediately form a national government, okay? Suspend their own government and form a national government, okay, with the major thing to unite the country to deal with Venezuelans. Because that is the response that is necessary. And then when the world see that you're serious in doing something for yourself, you create a better basis for your allies, to come to you to help. Because any ally coming to you help, the first thing is look at where's the internal unity of this country. What we could depend that they will do for themselves. And in our condition, we could do very little for ourselves, given our state. So the first imperative for I to take this government serious on the border is, unless they bite the bullet, recognize the historical importance, and form a national government in defense of the territory. If they're not prepared to do that, I don't take them serious. And I will make the same argument if tomorrow the APMU, AFC, the opposition go in power, by whoever chance, but they go in power, and they take a similar position that they don't want to form a national government in defense of the territory, I will take the same position to them, on them.
Well, you've cleared up, because I was just going to ask what would your response would be in relation to a point that would have been made by Big Mouth himself, that the opposition wants a backdoor into the government.
No, that is the normal approach they've been doing for years. But I'm saying, if you're serious about defense of the country, you got to put aside that kind of petty politics and deal with the reality. That's why I'm telling you, they're not serious on the border. If they wake up tomorrow and Venezuelan tanks start to run down the place, you'll still quick them call for national government. But too late. Too late. So I'm saying that any fool will know that given our weaknesses, given our divisions, if we're serious about the border and Venezuela is taking serious steps to tighten the grips around us, we got to begin to take serious steps to begin to show our intent to resist. And you can't depend, your allies will not come to your assistance if they believe you don't have a genuine interest in defending your territory. And even if they come to your assistance, they're going to colonize you afterwards. Why you send me sons and daughters to die for you, and you want your sons and daughters to die for the land? Then at the end of the day, take over the blasted place.
Now, I've been reading that since the time of Barnum, I was reading a little historical record that the way to deal with Venezuela, because of our current situation, as you would have pointed out, is for the establishment of an American military base in the Essequibo.
Rafi, they've raised it recently.
You raised it?
Yeah, he have been raising it since.
Okay, so what was he saying?
Same thing what you're saying, that, the way to deal with the thing is to get Americans as a military base in Essequibo.
No, but there is that. What he's doing is basically mouthing something that has been on the cards for the PPP.
Yeah.
So he is basically giving tacit support, being a public relations spokesperson for them,
Yeah.
in a sense.
Yeah.
So, but what are your thoughts?
But the more important concern for me is what is the logic behind it. Indians see Guyana as a place to make money.
Yeah.
When it comes to defense of the territory and to ask the children and themselves to die in defense, they're not prepared to do it. So you're prepared to ask the Americans to send their children to die in defense of Essequibo for you. But you're not prepared to show a willingness to fight for yourself. This was what I find more disturbing. Because that is there's a logic behind it. And when you do that, you must know the price you gotta pay for it. Nobody don't do nothing for nothing. But they are prepared to be transactional. You know, they give away the country. You know, rather than finding genuine solutions, you still got to get international help. But you find genuine solutions where you can work with international partners. At the end of the day, you don't lose everything. I mean, there's got to be the approach. You're going to lose something. If people got to come and fight for you, God's got a price. Oh, we stop playing games about these things. Nobody don't dispose them kind of sacrifice equipment and their people for nothing. So that is how you have to see it as political people. That any direction we move, it got a price. Which direction is less painful for us? Which direction in the long term will guarantee us holding on to a lot of our sovereignty? And I'm saying that a genuine national reconciliation is the basis to hold on to the territory of the country. Because once the country is that divided to the extent that it is divided, you are almost certain that you're going to lose the country down the road. It's going to be hard. Look, let me tell you something. Even if Venezuela invade, right, with the oil and the developments in Guyana in the next few years, we don't have population to push the likely economic development of this country. Therefore, you could take it for granted at some point you got to bring in people. Now, when you look at the model in Latin America, at the end of slavery and so, Africans were the majority in all these Latin American countries. And as the Europeans and the Americans and so begin to develop economic things, they whiten the place. The same design they got for Guyana. You think they got this artist wealth we got there, they're telling themselves this to you?
But in places like Argentina, systematical.
This I'm saying, and I'm saying we're facing the same thing. They're going to take away the country from you in another two decades or so. So if your leadership is not serious and to understand that a country like big as ours, with that kind of resources, with 750,000 people, can't stand up against the hostile forces in the world unless we really reconcile and we really stick together. And even when we do that, I'm telling you, it's going to be a gigantic fight. So when you do it, we expect.
Yeah, but do you have, you're in a sense being visionary in terms of your projections of possibilities. What you are saying doesn't resonate with the likes of Jack Deere because they're viewing the situation for now with a view of grabbing as much as they can, fortifying themselves and their families and so on. But don't these families and all, even the likes of Jack Deere and Nandalal and Irfan and so on, don't they have to eventually be part of that future, if not them, their children and their children's children?
Well, you see, the rural elite in these places, they stock a lot of the money abroad, and when the crunch time comes, they damn the children and the family, gone out of the country. If they support the ordinary sugar workers, the ordinary rice farmer, the ordinary Indian person, ain't got nowhere to go, like the ordinary Africans. But the rich and powerful in these scenarios. They got options as soon as they realize, then you watch any country invade, man, who first run out? It's the rich and them run out to save heavens and left the ordinary population in the mess. So their mentality is shaped by the reality. People don't thief money and acquire wealth and store the wealth because they want to die there and left it. They want to spend it. And if trouble come here, they run away the wealth there. And they're going to view the situation in the area of safety and decide whether it is possible how things going, they can come back and all kind of things. But they already got the exit plan. It is the bulk of their supporters that ain't got no exit plan. It's me and you. If I right now, I even got a passport. If I drop down, I get sick of telling the truth. I got to try to get a passport. Keep telling myself I got to get a passport. But I don't even got, I can tell you, I'll be honest. I don't even have an active passport. If my heart collapses, I gotta forget some people will carry me to America, forget to fix it. I gotta forget right here because I ain't even got them. But their life is so organized that in a twinkle or twist of a finger, they're gone. So in different realities.
All right, I mean, I like the way you've explained it, but that means that their interest is not in the country.
And the people, even the people who voted for them, they're just not really for them.
That's the point that we should have. Anyway, time has caught up with us. I think it's been interesting, the points that you've made. And people can give their feedback if they so desire. The program is posted on YouTube. Every program that we do, we upload it to YouTube. You can check for Forbes Dion Abrams' YouTube channel and you will see them there. But it's good that we can come again and engage in these discussions so that people can be enlightened on issues as they unfold here in Guyana. Thank you, Brother Ogun. To the viewers out there, it's been a pleasure being with you once again. See you next week, same time, same channel, for another program of Walter Rodney Groundings. Good night.